Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Thursday. Thank you all for tuning in to yet another episode of Melanated N Business. I am just Joci.
And I'm TaWanda with the T.
And we'd like to thank you all for tuning in today on this Thursday, April 15th, where our guest of the hour is Mr. Kamose Muhammad of Freedom Paper Company. Welcome, 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 sir.
Welcome.
Greetings to you both. I greatly appreciate you, my dear sisters, and greetings to your family and followers on your station.
So we thank you for being here. We're going to get into your story. But TaWanda, what's the tea?
All right. So following along with April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. This week, I'm going to share some awareness activities and events. So the first one, which is already passed, is the Day of Action. The first Tuesday of every April is the SAM Day of Action. The Day of Action is an opportunity to start off the month with highly visible and coordinated actions. Plan an event, schedule SAM-related social media content, participate in the hashtag 30 Days of SAM, or find your own way to get involved. You can show that you support survivors and are a safe person to talk to if they need to reach out to you by wearing teal. Number 2 is the Clothesline Project. The Clothesline Project is a non-governmental organization created to bring awareness to the issue of violence against women, men, and children. For those who have been affected by violence, it is a means of expressing their emotions by decorating a t-shirt. After the t-shirts have been decorated, they are hung on a clothesline display. The intention of the display is to honor survivors and act as a memorial for victims. It is also intended to aid in the healing process for those who were directly affected and those who have lost someone special to violence. Lastly, the clothesline display is to educate society and promote awareness, as well as to document violent crimes against women. Number 3, the Take Back the Night. Take Back the Night is an international event and nonprofit organization with the mission of ending sexual, relationship, and domestic violence in all forms. Hundreds of events are held in over 30 countries annually. Events often include marches, rallies, vigils intended as a protest and direct action against rape and other forms of sexual, relationship, and domestic violence. In 2001, a group of women who had participated in the earlier Take Back the Nation marches came together to form the Take Back the Night Foundation in support of events and throughout the United States and the world. Number 4 is the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Created in 2001, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is an international men's march to stop rape, sexual assault, and gender violence. The event helps to bring community awareness of sexual violence and have everyone involved in the conversation. For more information on that, you can visit walkamileinhershoes.org. And number 5 is Denim Day. Denim Day, which takes place April 29th of every year, is an event in which people are encouraged to wear jeans or denim to raise awareness of rape and sexual assault.
So, hope you guys were listening. Mark your calendars. Be in support of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Also, don't forget about our guest from last week, Mr. Cole Parker, CEO of Divas in Defense. Go over, register your family, your friends, your daughters, your sisters, your nieces, so that you know how to defend yourself. Purchase a couple of the items so that you are on guard and ready and prepared. Should anything happen, things are changing in this world every day. So just protect yourselves and be ready at all times, ladies.
Yes.
We're not telling you to go, be the aggressor. Just be ready, should something pop off, be prepared. Okay. So let's get into our guest for the hour. How is your day coming along, sir?
My day is humbly blessed. Excellent.
Cool. So, Mr. Muhammad, for the people who do not know, tell them who you are.
So my name is Kamose Muhammad, Brother Kamose Muhammad. I go often by Brother Muhammad simply. I'm a consummate business person. I've been doing business for quite a few years in various industries and such. And of late, I'm the CEO of Freedom Paper Company. I'm also what you would call a community activist, possibly maybe you would call me a political activist as well. And so I've been involved in the ongoings and the struggles in the community for us as a people, and that is growing really across the diaspora as well on the continent of Africa. But one of the things that I'm very, very interested in, of course, is not just business, but really the economic condition of us as a people. And so, as I talk about Freedom Paper Company, it's very important that people understand and know that we're not just a business. One of the things that occurred in 2011 when we began the company, prior to that, we did a study, or really there was a think tank of sorts. And of course, the question comes up among us often about the state and condition of us in business. And so I could name a number of statistics, but just a few. For example, the average black business only makes about $45,000 to $55,000 a year, and only employs one person, typically its owner. For example, we know that the rate of return, or the rate of circulation of capital among black businesses, is in and around 2 to 3%. Um, so these are some statistics about business that we know we need to improve, but the picture is much bigger than that. And so when we looked at the situation of business, we considered globally what is our economic condition. And what we found was a very dismal situation. That is to say that even in nation states, on the continent of Africa or Jamaica, what have you, we don't control the economic realities that exist in and around us. So even where we have natural resources such as oil or bauxite or what have you, we are not necessarily the people, even when we have the government in control, we're not controlling the infrastructure and the economic viability, if you will, of the circumstances that abide by us. So Freedom Paper Company comes on the scene as a reality that is attempting to change that dynamic and change that paradigm. And in fact, we have in our fostering what we call the new economic paradigm.
And how long have you guys shifted or transitioned into this space? Has this been the initial goal since creating the business, or was the educational part the main focus, and then you ventured into different products?
Well, it came sort of full circle in a holistic way, if we can use that term. Our principal reality, who we are, has always been about such as wealth creation, wealth circulation. We don't look at ourselves, and we are not what you would call a capitalistic business. We are a communalist business. And for those who are in business, many of us, we don't necessarily even study those ideologies, right? So the ideology of capitalism is taught, and certainly is made to seem as if it is the only direction that one should be in particular in any Western country, that you should take that route, capitalism as the way of business. But as we as African people think about it and did our research and I looked at upon the history, we would derive very quickly that capitalism is fostered from slavery. So the capitalist model, the capitalist reality, which is winner take all at all costs, somebody must lose in order for somebody else to win, is fostered on the back of our ancestors and the blood of our ancestors. This is what made capitalism strong, slavery. So we cannot be that. And again, so the educational model, as you say, was present with us from the beginning. But also we know as business people, we have to do business.
Gotta
So
make
we
money.
have to have products. We have to do our very best to ensure that we're providing the things that we say we are, and that our customers are happy as well. So it's a big picture situation.
So where are you all located?
We're located primarily in Baltimore, Maryland, with an office in Columbia, with the office in Delaware as well.
Is that where the bulk of your business is? Your transactions and your clients come from that area, or have you expanded into other regions?
Well, we're actually a national company from the standpoint of the customers we serve. We have the ability to serve clients and customers all over the United States of all sizes. So business people as well as households. Um, the primary distribution facility is in Baltimore, Maryland. And so we've done a lot here in the community in terms of hiring and employing people, putting people to work, those who in many cases would not have the opportunity. As you started your program, talking about some of the challenges that our sisters face, one of those growing challenges happens to be imprisonment. Um, it has always been the case, more or less, that Black men have been streamlined into the prison system, if you will. But today, our sisters are very much so being streamlined into the prison system likewise. So, right now, a good amount of our employees were persons who, male and female, who had records, who may have had challenges finding opportunities otherwise. But we say welcome home. Here's another chance to get started. Um, we must provide the things that our people need, and that's one of the big things about being a business that is owned by a Black man or Black people, is that we must be the conscious reality that changes the conditions in our community. We cannot do what other people do.
I definitely thank you and commend you. That is one of the things that I like to see, is when we not only have a business in the community, but then we turn around and we use the people of the community to work in our businesses and educate them, and kind of just keep that dollar circulating, within our community. That's a beautiful thing to do, and part of the reform. So often society tends to throw those people away. It's kind of like, whatever the issue, whatever the mistake that you've made, I like that you are like, it's okay. We all make mistakes. Come back in. I want to sow into you and let you know that you are valuable, part of the community, and that you are still, of substance. You still are a person, and that's great. That's an amazing aspect of your business. So I do like that part.
Yes, ma'am.
What products do you guys offer?
So I'd like to break this down by category first and foremost, with giving the information that when we started 10 years ago, and I think I'm going to applaud that myself, and I think everyone should applaud that, because we have to understand that being in business, regardless of who you are, is very, very tough, right? The statistics bear that out. So if you're a white-owned business, an Asian-owned business, whatever, it's tough being in business. But to be a Black-owned business is extremely tough. And we can talk about some of the reasons why, right? But so 10 years, according to statistics, 80% of all businesses that start in the first 5 years fail after 5 years. So to make it 10 years, and it has not been easy at all, is an extreme accomplishment that we're blessed and favored. And thank the Most High and the ancestors that we have gotten this far, and we hope now to become a legacy business. That's what's next, right? So we need to have businesses in our community that last generation to generation, just like some of your mainstream businesses. These are ones that have been around, that were passed down to the children from the original owners, and now continue. We need to have that same kind of legacy reality within our community. So, so 10 years we've been around. We started with just bathroom tissue, which is our hallmark product, our anchor foundational product. We were hoping back in 2011, when we introduced the Freedom brand bathroom tissue, that everybody would just love it. Our people rush to it in particular, and we just take the bathroom tissue market by storm. By the way, bathroom tissue just in America alone, not the whole world, does $2.5 billion a year, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you think about the fact that if just, we represent roughly 14% of the population, but if 10% of the population at large, and then just our people were to buy the product, then that capital then could be used to spawn and to grow infrastructure in the community and change life almost instantaneously. I just want to throw that out because it's important that people understand the potentiality of wealth creation, wealth circulation. And when we don't do that, we see what we currently have to live through, which is high unemployment, constant disrespect of our people, because nobody respects people who don't respect themselves. So if we note, other communities do support their own businesses. They absolutely do. This is why we have Chinatowns. Chinatowns, right, in the U.S. So where there's a concentration of Chinese businesses in a particular locale. And this is why here, let's say in Baltimore, there's a high Korean population and Korean businesses, and they have their language on their business. I can't speak Korean. Most Caucasians I know can't speak Korean. So who are they marketing to? Obviously, their own people who speak Korean, right? So they're so confident that their own people are coming that they're going to put their language there that you and I can't read and most of the nation can't read because they're that confident about their own people coming. So today we've been blessed to have 5 categories of product. That is everything in paper, commercial and residential, cleaning products, again, commercial and residential. And let me digress a moment and say that the paper product, well, let me say this. Our products, paper and personal care products in particular, the wonderful thing about them is that they're people friendly. And when we say people friendly, we mean that they do not contain the high concentrations of toxic poisons that many of us don't know exist in almost every product that we use. Soaps, mouthwash, toothpaste, bathroom tissue, which has dioxin in many products, which is a cancer-causing agent. We don't put those kinds of toxins in our products. So thirdly, it would be cafeteria or food service products. Fourth would be office supply. And fifth would be the personal care. And that's where we manufacture fabric softener, laundry detergent. We also sell products manufactured by other Black-owned companies, such as toothpaste, mouthwash, etc. And then we import from the continent shea butter, raw soap, and things of that nature. So today we have 1,500 plus products that can be used across the spectrum of commercial and residential use.
So are they considered organic?
Well, I would say yes. So I'll just touch on what organic means, because we have to understand that, everything is a money process in America. So when I label or stamp your product organic, I pay a fee to have that done. But organic in its truest nature would mean coming forth from the earth without additives, right? So our raw soap, for example, is pure, unadulterated soap without chemicals in it that would actually dry your skin, because many soaps actually dry your skin and are harmful to your skin. And this is why sometimes eczema, people with eczema have problems with certain kinds of soaps because they're drying agents. They're like lye, for example, right? So organic would really mean that it does not have additives away from its natural source. So many of our products are that. So the shea butter, for example, is all natural. Raw soap is all natural. Other things would just have less toxins, but there may be some chemical additives.
So then I guess that kind of goes for vegan as well.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely say yes. So, we don't use, well, I am a Muslim, so we don't use pork, definitely. And that is to say that these animal byproducts are used often in a lot of things, and hidden in language that we don't recognize it. So it doesn't say animal byproduct. It may use some pseudonym or some term that is a scientific term that it really signified, like emulsifier, right? Emulsifiers tend to be either pork or beef, but most often pork. But yes, we don't use those animal byproducts either.
So what prompted you to start the company?
Well, I have a business background, so I've done numerous things from real estate to um, finance, retail, etc. And then after the Great Recession, many of us may remember that there was a collapse of the economy. I happened to be in real estate at that time, took a terrible hit, and looked around to see what else was happening. We had always been taught and believed that real estate, and it is a great uh, opportunity and industry. But the teaching to us has often been that it doesn't fail or can't fail, and it can. In fact, it has collapsed several times in the United States. Um, so we looked around to see what businesses weren't as impacted during the recession. And the paper industry was not impacted to that degree as many others were. In fact, it grew. So looking at it from that standpoint, and looking at it from the standpoint that there were very few people of African descent in the industry at all, at any juncture from distribution to manufacturing, made it appealing to us. And knowing that we could somehow begin to eke out some kind of a reality for ourselves and for our people there.
So was it hard breaking into the industry?
Yes. I like to think we are a forerunner. Today there are a few other. Well, let me say this: there were one or two companies even when we started. We think we were the first. The other company, there's one I have in mind that may have started right around the same time, but there were maybe two, and then some others came and they have come and gone. But today, 10 years later, we think we certainly paved the way in the road. There are a couple other companies now who will come on the scene, which is natural, in particular after the pandemic, right? And people realize, wow, this could be a robust business. So some others have now joined the fray. But we were certainly one of the forerunners that have come down the road. And yes, it has been an uphill road. Some of it because we've chosen to do certain things certain ways, and some of it because this is in what you would call an old boy network business, right? The paper goods industry has been in existence in America for at least close to 120 years. If you're looking at certain companies like International Paper, they can trace their history back um, close to slavery. Scott's was around in uh, roughly 1857, I believe, give or take. So the paper goods industry has been around years, and it is a network, a closed house. It's not one to often open doors to others to get in. So there are huge challenges in competing in a big way, that is, in the open space and open market.
So with this being a market an industry that you have never dabbled in, I'm guessing your close associates weren't knowledgeable of. How did you get the information that you needed to progress and move forward? Being since it is, a closed, like, we don't share, this is us, this is kind of what we have type industry.
Well, one of the things I'll say this for any business, any industry, any entrepreneur, is you must study. You should study before you get into a business. You should study all the way through the course of owning the business. In fact, continuing to be on top of your game and knowing what your industry is doing is essential to survival. So we actually, for about 9 months, and again, this was through a think tank where we were looking at several things, but when we identified the paper goods industry, we studied the industry for 9 months. So we did have a good, wherewithal to begin to navigate. We did run into many obstacles, but we found many blessings. I truly believe that today, this time is our time, right? The time of the original people, the African awakening, if you will. And we can do pretty much anything we want. The spirit, I believe, is with us to do that. And that doesn't mean it's easy. That just means the door is open. And so, some doors began to open here and there for us that allowed us to begin to grow. And then we even found some people who were willing to give us a bit of nurturing, education, teaching, etc., that helped us along the way. So we haven't done this all by ourselves. We've certainly been blessed and had some people that I would say that the Most High and the ancestors sent to us when we really needed them, that helped us to, be able to survive this tenure at this time.
So are your products available in stores, or is it just online? Like, how do people get their hands on them?
Well, that's been it's been a challenging question for us, I'd say, because, and this is what I meant, one of the things I meant when I said we've made certain choices. So the natural tendency of business, of course, is to make money, right? You have to make money or you're not going to be in business. So that's important. But there are some lessons to be learned in our own history about who controls what. I'll say this, for example. If we looked at the condition of our industries or our businesses when they become strong, so let's take the case of, let's say, a company like Shea Moisture, and I'm saying this from research and things that I've seen online, and I haven't spoken to any of them, so that's my disclaimer. But what we do know is that Shea Moisture was a company that made $200 million a year, had been in business some 25 years, and today is not around, not black owned, or certainly not 100% black owned, one of the three. They did do some business with Bain Capital, which is a venture capitalist organization, and many companies, white and black, have lost their companies to such entities. So what tends to happen is that when we get to a certain size, we get brought out, right? Everybody knows about BET, right?
Right.
It may not have been that Mr. Johnson necessarily wanted to sell, but there's certainly pressures that would make one do certain things. And so because we don't have sometimes the necessary support and infrastructural realities ourselves, when we get to a certain size, we get brought out. So what history then has taught is that it's important not only to be a manufacturer, but to also have some control of distribution. When you don't have control of distribution, other people can shut you down. This was the case if you read about Johnson and Johnson, Mata, and the Nation of Islam's power products. You would find that this is one of the things that occurred in that scenario where Johnson and Johnson was going to be a manufacturer of products, but fell under the pressure of outside entities who did not want them to produce products for these other two entities, these other two black-owned groups. So we determined both to try to get in stores, which we have been very selective about, and we have been in stores, but we've also built out a distribution channel of stores of our own. So we're in a lot of stores in the black community in various places across the country. That's number one. And then, of course, is the internet, which, again, everyone now is seeing more and more is critical to survival. So we've really built out our store across the internet strongly, and that's why we have a national presence. We have programs, though, where we can partner with people. We have franchise opportunities and a number of business relationships that can be developed with others that we want to build out our own distribution chains and models. Now, all that is to say that at this point, some companies are actually calling us and about coming to stores. So you may see us in some of your large stores, but we have been able to navigate our own course in this regard. And so we, again, have been blessed in that sense.
And that's that's your distribution co-op programs that you are a part of.
Yes. So we have business relationships as a part of the wealth creation, wealth circulation. So again, the idea here is that you can not only be a customer of ours, but you could also make money with us. And you can do it at various levels. So anything from a simple affiliate all the way through our robust distribution program, which is an independent wholesale distributor. At a particular level, it's a full-fledged business, which would be a franchise entity. So just like you would walk in and get, a 7-Eleven or a McDonald's, it's at that level, right? Or you could take a smaller route, a lesser gradient, like a co-op, which gives a person the opportunity or parties the opportunity to maybe do whatever they're doing. If they have a job, they have another business, but they want to grow their entity out, it gives the opportunity to do that as well.
So I want to go back to real quick, the whole COVID, everybody went crazy over toilet paper during COVID. Like, I don't know where that stemmed from, where it came from, but what was that impact on your business? Because I'm sure that it pivoted you into a direction that you just were not expecting.
Yeah, nobody could expect COVID, right? And it's important because a lot of things happened during COVID. On the worst end of COVID, a lot of our businesses are gone, right? They talk about the impact of small businesses who are no longer in existence because of COVID. But that, unfortunately, unproportionately has affected African American owned businesses, Black owned businesses. So for us too, it was sort of, the best of times and the worst of times. Now, we had seen previous to COVID, isolated situations where something would happen in the community, for example, and our people would kind of wake up and say, we're going to support Black businesses. And so we had seen that happen a couple of times. And so we had some strategies and plans that we were able to gear up quickly to meet, a spontaneous demand, if you will. But again, COVID, nobody could have expected anything like that. Keeping in mind that COVID shut down governments, right? So the United States government was somewhat shut down. Municipalities, states, and countries worldwide, right, was shut down somewhat by COVID. So obviously, and the big businesses were shut down too. They were all affected in some way, shape, or fashion. So of course, smaller businesses are going to be affected. On the bad end of it, it was so many people coming in that it collapsed structures. Websites crashed several times. Other systems failed. And again, understanding you're operating your business at a particular level, everything is working fine. And then a tidal wave hits you, right? So if you're not ready for a tidal wave type of increase, then you have problems. The good news is we fairly quickly adapted. You're talking about a growth rate of well over 1,000%, near 1,500% in less than 45, 60 days. And we think we handled it that considered fairly well. Obviously, some people would disagree, and we understand. But we were able to come back. And we're much stronger today than we were pre-COVID. Our systems are stronger. We have more employees. Our logistic chains are better. Our warehousing is better. And remember, there were things that had to happen. So when you have a space like a warehouse, now it's not only getting products out, but it's protecting the workers in the warehouse. It's cleaning and sanitizing the warehouse. It's ensuring that people can go home safe to their families. And so all of these things had to be taken into account. I give us at least a B. I mean, being realistic. But we learned a lot. And so we think we'd be prepared. And I want to say, family, that these things will happen more and more. A lot of things are happening in the world today, certainly on a geopolitical nature, geopolitical realities. We need to look at what's going on with money in the United States, the dollar. But there are a lot of things going on. So we need to expect a lot more collapses. I'm advocating and saying we would be wise today to turn more and more to ourselves, or we will continually find ourselves out. I wanted to say something, but I know it's a family show. I would have presented, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So in every situation where there's a catastrophe, we are the ones who have suffered the worst. You look at
Right.
Hurricane Katrina, right? Who suffered the worst? Are we learning anything from this? I hope we are. And if we are, one lesson should be we need to turn more to ourselves to prepare for the future.
Do you have an auto ship program?
Yes. Our auto ship program, you can find it right online at the top of the navigation page. And auto ship people were very happy during the pandemic. Auto
Right.
ship
That
people
toilet paper
continue
just kept on running.
they continue to get their products. So I definitely advocate that people do that. And the other thing that does, and this is very important, and I'm sure that if you talk to a number of Black-owned businesses, they would say the same, which is that we as businesses need consistent purchasing, right? It's great that people come during an emergency or during something that we're upset about. We appreciate the business whenever it comes, but we need the business to be a little more consistent. No business can really plan and succeed when it ebbs and flows to great extremes, right? So getting on auto ship benefits everyone. It benefits the business because there's a constant revenue that's there that can be depended upon. And it benefits the customer because in our case, we give you discounts, right? So people who were auto ship 2 years ago, they never saw an increase in shipping costs. And shipping costs goes up every single year. FedEx, UPS, and the post office raise shipping costs every single year. Now, we've only done it, Freedom Paper Company, probably twice in 10 years because we just had to. But if you're on auto ship, we don't raise your price. So you get an automatic discount just by being on auto ship. Then you get, let's call it a hedge against inflation and costs that are growing, right? Because if you're on auto ship, you're still paying the cost you were paying whenever you started. And that cost does increase over time.
Because you kind of locked in. You're locked and loaded. Like it doesn't change.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna switch gears for a minute. I gotta read this because it's like very long.
Okay.
But you actually are a part of the Student National Facilitator, Chairman of the Committee for the Development of the National Ministry of Trade and Commerce for the Nation of Islam, right? Could you tell us what that position is, what it entails, and then I want to know what was that experience like educating the community as a whole, and what takebacks did you get from it?
So as I said when I started, I'm a community activist at heart, right? I'm all about seeing us better our situation and our conditions. So for those, we may be talking to generations. So some, hopefully all, have at least heard about that great event that took place, a life-changing event that took place in 1995, which was the Million Man March. If you weren't present, some weren't maybe even born in 1995, possibly, right? But it's something to study. It was a life-changing event. In fact, we know that the Million Man March actually stopped, let's say, a homicidal attempt from the U.S. government in further killing Black men in a more unified fashion. That unity event that occurred on that day, October 16th, which we still celebrate coming up on 26 years, was a life-changing event. Any person, male or female, who happened to attend will tell you that you could feel the spirit of the Most High with the people. The peace and love on that day was beyond compare. Fast forward 10 years later, there was the advent of what was called the Million Moors Movement. The Million Moors Movement began to look at the development of infrastructure and agency, if you will, inside of our community in terms of our needs, right? So there was the development of what you call ministries. Ministry of Education, Ministry of Arts and Culture, Ministry of Trade and Commerce, Ministry of Agriculture. So when we look at us as a people, we're a diverse people. Like any people, we're really a nation in America, for example. And if we were to ever become a nation, like any nation, we would need all of these things addressed. So during the early days of that, I kind of stepped out on faith because there weren't posts being issued directly in the Nation of Islam from headquarters, let's say. But I began to mobilize and to organize business people inside of the nation at that time. And we developed an organization of 26 mosques and study groups, and then brought in community as well to foster the ideal of business development. And as a part of this whole Million Man March process, there were community groups formed called LOCs, local organizing committees. And so these local organizing committees still exist in various parts of the country. I'm a member of one here in Baltimore, which is called Project Million More's Movement, which is actually headed by a sister. One of our sisters has been stronger than some of us brothers in continuing to foster the ideas for 26 years. She has, sometimes on her own, quite frankly, fostered and promoted the idea of the Million Man March here in Baltimore. But in Chicago and other cities, these LOCs still exist. So working along with them, we've continued to do things to foster business development and also be a beacon in the community when the community needs help. So we've done drives where we've done giveaways, where we've done food, where we've done products and certain things of that nature. When tragedies have occurred here in Baltimore, like the Freddie Gray murder that occurred here in Baltimore, we were participants and parties to assisting the community at large. So, again, when people spend money with Freedom Paper, understand that we take our responsibility to heart. That is to say that we have responsibility to the community, and we must. Again, we're not going to wait till we get a bunch of money. We're giving back today. We gave back in year one, and we believe that our businesses must do that. We must be those who take care of ourselves. So that's what that responsibility entailed at that time. I think you had
your takeaway. What did you take away from it? Like what about it? What insight did you gain by working so deep in the community with the people? I don't know what the age range was, that you didn't realize had is affecting our growth economically.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. I don't think we have time. We can answer that one totally in another session. But let me say this. The need for education is critical and crucial across all spectrums. Most business people are not business savvy and not necessarily savvy about the realities of what we're facing. So again, some of us call ourselves capitalists. That would, to me, entail that we don't understand what that really means. For example, many Black-owned businesses do not support other Black-owned businesses. That should make us scratch our heads, right? Because every Black-owned business will probably say, "I wish more Black people would support me." So we should ask them, "Do you support Black businesses?" Right? So just the basics of understanding the basics, we really need to revisit. And then there's other things like vertical integration, right? And so vertical integration is something where instead of doing what has often been the case with Black businesses, which is duplication, in other words, somebody does something, some business, and then instead of creating something that supports that business vertically, right? So we make bathroom tissue, but we need boxes for the bathroom tissue to go into. So now somebody makes boxes, and now they become the box supplier, right? So instead of doing that, we do duplication, which is actually harmful, right? So these are just basic common economic principles that business people need to learn. And then the Black consumer needs to understand how important we are. And also understand that you know, white-owned businesses, frankly, do not become strong because they're necessarily good. Let me say that again. White-owned businesses are not strong, meaning they don't have money because they're necessarily good. We interact with a lot of big businesses. They're not really good. They fail a lot. They fall down a lot. Um, but we have to remember two things. One, the economic reality of America is built off slavery, right? So cotton, right? And again, many know about the tracing back the lineage of banks and other industry that are rooted in the slave trade, right? In other words, they got their money initially there. Then we have things like public trading, investment. So many companies that we look at today as great businesses, they didn't make any money for several years. You know, what's the company? Dell Computers didn't make any profit for 11 years. Amazon didn't make profit for 20 years. How many of us could survive and not make profit for 20 years? Well, the reason that happens is because there's investment. Somebody believed in them enough to keep investing money in them when these investors were not making a profit. So, these are things that the education, from an educational standpoint, that we need to learn. And the more we come in tune with these kinds of concepts and realities, then we too can become strong. Because one thing is for sure, we're the most resilient and innovative people on the planet. You give us anything and you give us some lemons, we making lemonade, right?
And ice
There's no
cream
question
and
about
smoothies.
it.
We gonna make
Exactly,
lemon
right?
everything.
Exactly. So, and listen, they know that. They know that, right? So today we're still talking about bank redlining, right? We're still complaining that, and we should, don't get me wrong, but we still complain today in 2021 that banks don't treat us fair. We know that even people with good credit, black people with good credit scores, still get higher interest rates. We know this is a fact. So now the question, though, becomes, will we just complain or will we do something about it ourselves? Because when we do something about it ourselves is when you make other people do what they're supposed to do. They're not going to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. They will only do it when they are made to do, meaning they will only do the right thing when they're made to do the right thing. And in America, that which causes people to do the right thing is capital. So
That
when
money,
we talk
baby.
about boycotting, that money that we boycott from their businesses needs to be invested in our businesses. You cannot boycott them and then go to their brother and give their brother the money while your own people starve.
Right.
So these are just some of the things that need to be heavily taught.
Heavily taught. And you guys, is the program more for teenagers and young adults, or is it across the spectrum, everyone of all ages?
Well, from the business spectrum, you would have to be at least 18, right, of legal age to be in business. But we have gone into schools and given lectures and done programs with school systems. And we've even developed fundraising mechanisms that can be utilized in schools that integrate an educational program to teach young people about business. So we can create for a school a program that not only raises funds, right? So this is beyond your candy bars that
Right.
is done. You can not only raise funds, but you can also create an educational component where students actually learn how to run business. So we actually have that kind of a model and scenario that can be shared as well.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that is very much. I mean, it's needed everywhere, but everyone is aware of the high crime that exists in the Baltimore area. So that is something that I think is definitely needed. Just educating, them at a younger age, so that they do have it available to them should they decide to take that avenue.
Sure, absolutely. I'll say this. High crime exists in most of our major cities. But we can link high crime to economics. So where there is a less opportunity, you will typically find high crime. Here's a statistic just to throw it out there. Did you know that since 1940, since the unemployment statistic was being taken, that black men since 1940, it's 2021. Since 1940, we have always been at least 2.5% higher unemployed than our white counterparts, period. Now, I asked the question, can that be an anomaly? Can that be a coincidence? That for all of those years, we're always 2.5% or more? No, of course not. That's mathematically improbable. So that means that somebody takes a vested interest in keeping us poor. So again, we have to be our own solution. If we have more businesses, guess what happens? We employ more people because our businesses, by and large, are the greatest employers of ourselves. That's a fact.
And I agree, we have to not only be black owned businesses, but black run, businesses at the same time. It's nice, to get the other people to come along and work. But it looks nice when you're black owned and operated and equipped, with your people.
Absolutely. And we have highly qualified people.
Highly.
That need opportunity.
Contrary to what society would have you to believe about the work ethic of the black person, we work. We've always worked. Yes. We've been the workers, for this country for so long. So for someone to create that narrative that black people are lazy or black people don't like to work, and it's like we work hard. Go into any job, we're working. We always working. We staying late. We neglecting our loved ones. You know what I mean? So it's like, where this narrative come from?
Exactly.
So when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, or did you have any major influencers that pushed your passion for business?
I think I was born to be an entrepreneur. I share a story that my mother told me sometime, years later. But she said to me that when I was, in and around 4 or 5 years old, she asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, as parents often ask their children. And she says my response was I wanted to be a businessman. Now, I don't really remember that per se, but evidently it was in my core. And I think there are two sides of who I am. The businessman, I say the businessman and the minister. Minister meaning, I want to give service to our people. And I've always had the challenge of trying to integrate those two passions, if you will. And I think we found our way with Freedom Paper Company because we've started more small black businesses. In the last 10 years, I'd say we probably started close to 20 small black owned businesses. So, 20 people have come into business because we exist. They were able to start their own businesses. Our training classes that we give for both the wholesale, the independent wholesale distributor and our co-op classes, anybody pretty much that you would ask who has been to our class will tell you, and these are their words that they say to us, I've never had a class like that. And these are people who have backgrounds in the military, they've been in sales, they've been in professional life, but very intense class that we have. And in fact, we were recognized in 2019 by Mayor Ras Baraka in the city of Newark, New Jersey, where we were given the opportunity there to actually start and develop a worker-owned business in the community. This was a community-based employee-owned business that the Mayor Ras Baraka in Newark, New Jersey, wanted to do. He wanted to see that begin. He wanted to give the people in the community an opportunity. And so we were called upon, we were selected to help develop that business and bring it into fruition. So we're very well known for our work and our service that lends toward both business acumen and community service at the same time.
Question T?
Nope, no questions right now.
So you mentioned earlier that you import shea butter, something else.
Raw soap, African raw soap.
So do you also, so I understand you work in importing, and do you send your products over to other countries?
We're working on some of those things now. You know, one of the challenges, of course, is the currency in other countries is weaker often, especially in Africa, is weaker in certain places than the US dollar. Although, of course, we know that imports are being made there. Again, the condition, the mindset of our people worldwide has been altered to our own disadvantage. So sometimes, even on the continent, people think, you know, products from Europe or whatever are better than maybe products made by ourselves. But that's beginning to change more and more. As it is here, so it is there. And then, of course, we have China, which is hugely attempting to dominate the African continent with an influx of products as well. And those products are often cheap because China has a cheaper labor force, let's say, than the US. But again, this is the global perspective that we need to look at. But yes, we're certainly making inroads in relationships on the continent, have been doing so for years. And you'll be seeing soon some new developments coming forth. We know we're working with entrepreneurs on the continent as well. So you'll be seeing some things coming through the Freedom Paper Company channel for products made and organic, all natural products from the motherland. They'll be coming very shortly.
Okay, I look forward to that. I look forward to that. What I didn't know is that you guys, you know, provide household products, and that's not just commercial. That's retail, small. Like I can purchase them as well,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's on the website.
Yes. So the website, truthfully, is mostly your consumer goods or your household purchases. So you have your paper towels, your bathroom tissue, your toothpaste, your mouthwash, your laundry detergent. You have most of those things there. And then there's some commercial things as well. We actually are revamping the website. The website you see today is a website that inevitably evolved from the crashes that took place during the pandemic. That was sort of streamlined just to make sure people could get in, see what they needed to see, and keep moving, so to speak. The new website will be departmentalized a bit. So there'll be spaces that commercial clients can come into, wholesale people who are interested in doing volume or bulk wholesale, etc. And we're introducing in May. Oh, I said it. I haven't said May yet. This is exclusive. But in May, we've been talking about our membership program. So, and this is not like any other membership program. This is going to be a little different. It's going to inculcate other Black-owned businesses and community groups in our membership program. So we've been advertising it, sending out information to people who are connected to us through our email systems. But this membership program will have a slew of benefits for people who our loyal customers and people who want to become such, discount programs, new product alerts, even the thing that people love most, discounts on shipping. That's coming. But it'll also build the community because we've figured out a way and partnered with some people that, again, when we share wealth and do certain things, we believe, and we're building a model here in Baltimore, in fact, that we want to show that when we kind of put down the old way of doing things, when we make, when we stop being, as the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, we tend to be very petty at times, right? When we put down the petty behavior and understand that our interest is united, right? So regardless of what religion we might be, male, female, what part of the country we in, we have a particular interest. That interest, first and foremost, is survival, right? We must be, that's our common interest, survival. So we have to find ways to put that in the forefront. We're building such a model here. And a part of that model will be our new membership card, which is going to be released in May.
Cool. Well, unless you have any more questions, T.
How do you get the people, like you already have your additional products from other businesses? How do they do you go and vet them, or do they come to you?
Both. So, and what we're getting ready to do is, so we, from time to time, we run promotions and let people know that we have opportunities for you to partner with us in certain ways. And so we're going to be doing more and more of that. And again, there's going to be some new products that we're looking at. The biggest thing is, from the business perspective, anybody we bring on, they need to be able to service the product, right? So if we put a product on our site, people like it, then they can't get it. People get upset. So we make sure we just need businesses to be able to do that, and then we help too. So we provide somewhat of mentoring, and I think that's one of the things that's vastly missing oftentimes among us. I myself personally have always wanted mentors. I've been able to meet sometimes very successful Black business people and have some conversations with them that help, but I never really had a mentor. I think we need to have more mentors in our community, business mentors. I think that would take us a long way. But oftentimes, what the challenge is, again, is we have a certain teaching that's been taught to us, and it's come through, again, the channel of slavery. So during Jim Crow, quickly, it was against the law for us to do certain kinds of business at all. This is one of the reasons I believe we do duplication. So, like, beauty, hair salons, barbershops, funeral homes, for example, they didn't mind us doing those things. Other businesses, if you wanted to do it, you had to have a white sponsor to even do it. Or the white person would buy from you and then sell to other Black people and tell them that the price was high because of you. This is Jim Crow. So some of that residue is still with us, where sometimes we won't work together because we see each other as the competition. And the belief of that is because we see we're taught that only this small pie, this little teeny slice is all you can ever achieve. So we're all competing for this little teeny slice, where really the whole pie belongs to us. In fact, I would argue with anyone that the American system of economics today would collapse if Black people truly pulled out. It would actually absolutely collapse. In fact, our greatest power, maybe our only power left, is our consumer power of $1.4 trillion. If we do not harness that power, very soon we may not have that. So I think that we those are some things that we want to make sure that we are consistent with and keep in mind, so that we continue to build and grow moving forward.
And how can the people find you, Mr. Mohammed, Mr. Freedom Paper Company? What are your handles, your phone number, your email, your address?
Yes, we have a very active Instagram page. You can find us there at Freedom Paper Company, there on Instagram, on IG. We just went back and started getting our Twitter back in line as well. Again, Freedom Paper Company on Twitter. And we might get a little spicy out there on Twitter a little bit, and just tell some facts and some truth, because we got to just hear it today. So we might get a little spicy there. So definitely check that out. Of course, the website, www.freedompapercompany.com. And please, always those three words, Freedom Paper Company. There is another business called Freedom Paper. They don't do what we do. They do something else. They're a white-owned company. And that's okay. We're not mad at them about that. But they do something else. It's not us. So people sometimes have made the mistake of going to that site rather than ours. So we are freedompapercompany.com. The phone number, 855-496-8458. And you can reach us continually there. And so, we thank everybody. I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who has supported us over the years, for new customers who are coming, for those who have forgiven us during our missteps during the pandemic, and who are now coming back to us, and you're now seeing us rapidly get your products out. This is the what do you say, the not the new world, but the old world in the new world for us, right? So we're back to our normal self and better. So all of that's taking place, and I want to thank you, sisters, for what you're doing. You represent really what I would call Black media. We know that media is not controlled by us. It is critical and of the most crucial reality that we control our own narrative today. We must control the narrative. We can no longer simply believe what people tell us about us, right? And it's so horrendous. I just have to add this point that history books now are being rewritten. In certain places in the country, I believe in Texas, for example, there are history books that say that there was no slavery, that we were indentured servants, that we volunteered for that. Um, this is horrible, right? So we have to understand that there's information and there's disinformation. So there is a onslaught of disinformation to keep our people confused and to keep us warring and fighting against each other. So I thank you and I applaud you and others like you who are doing what you're doing, because you are helping to get the information out and let people know about companies like us. Probably the biggest thing about us is not enough people know we exist. So I definitely thank you for this opportunity and for your work.
And thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you taking your time out of your day to be here with us and just giving us your story and giving us some feedback and making us knowledgeable, of the product and speaking from firsthand, so that we don't just go with off of hearsay, when it comes to our businesses. But, I appreciate you being here. I really do.
Yes.
And it was very, you educated me on so many different aspects of the business functionality from a major, what I would say, a major corporation standpoint. We all strive to be at a distribution level with our products, failing to realize what that actually entails and what it looks like sometimes.
I say. Yeah, we are probably the largest Black-owned manufacturer, distributor of what you would call home or house essentials today. And it has not come without great toil, but we are very blessed to be in this position.
If you know someone who wants to be on Melanated in Business, have them reach out to me, just Joci, at melanatednbusiness.com. We would love to highlight your business, your brand, to bring about the awareness of your business to the Black community, Black and Brown community. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you for tuning in with us today on this Thursday. And next week we will be here, same place, same time, 7:30, with our next week's guest, Mr. Hemp of Boozy Ice Cream. And on that note, I thank you again, Mr. Muhammad, for gracing us with your presence. And I am going to say goodbye, and you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and enjoy yourselves.
Blessings.
Bye.